Hello, I'm Katie Woods. I'm a director in our corporate reporting services team, and I'm back with my weekly update on what's going on in the world of sustainability reporting. This week, I thought I'd touch on, and certainly not go into a lot of detail, the really tricky area of materiality assessment. Normally, I would tend to focus on the ISSB requirements, the International Sustainability Standard Board, but I think it's useful in this case to compare with the European requirements in the area of materiality. So let's start with materiality in the context of the European reporting standards, the ESRS, the European Sustainability Reporting Standards. In these standards, there's a requirement to follow a double materiality route. So what does that mean? It means that you're taking a wider view of the users of that sustainability report. So it's not just the investors in the entity that the sustainability report relates to, but also wider stakeholders, communities, businesses, customers, creditors, and employees. And so with that wider area, they're really broken down into two different aspects, which is looking at the outside, so say climate effect in on the entity and how that will be reported to users of the sustainability report. Compare that with the impact materiality, and that relates to the inside out. So what is the entity doing that affects those wider stakeholders of the entity that the sustainability report relates to? So what does that actually mean? Why is it important? Well, materiality is sort of the cutoff that helps with consistent reporting. It drives what is being reported by what is important to those different interested parties. If something is financially material, then it is looked at the risks and opportunities that are available to the entity. Think of it as that outside in. So what are the risks and opportunities from that are reported to those users? And often it will be outside of the scope of the normal financial consolidation, because there's a need to think of areas such as the wider value chain of the entity to work out what that effect is. Separately, there's the impact materiality, as I said. So this is the inside out. These are the impacts on the entity, or that the entity is having, to those wider stakeholders. And with those impacts, there's a need to think about how they're affecting those stakeholders. And the way to find that out is actually to have conversations or interview those stakeholders to support those assertions of what is an impact. So a complex area driven by two different definitions or areas, but actually that have to be brought together to determine what is material to be reported in that sustainability report. Let's compare that then with what the International Sustainability Standard Board requires. This standard is looking at just a financial materiality effect, so single materiality. In that case, we're just looking primarily at the investors in the entity, so what the outside, how that effect has come into the entity. So in the same way as the definition for financial reporting, for sustainability reporting, we're looking at those areas that, if they were omitted, misstated, or if they were obscured, would have an effect on the primary user of that sustainability report. You might say, well, that sounds pretty familiar with the financial reporting definition, and that's because it is the same definition. However, we've got to think of it in the context of not only the here and now, but actually over the short, medium, and long-term period of that reporting. Worth mentioning that single materiality approach is the same that's used in US reporting under the current SEC draft climate rules. So there's no way that you can assume that something that's material from financial reporting perspective is the same under the sustainability report. And what you really need to think about is the fact that this is going to be highly complex, not readily available information that is going to require an awful lot of judgment to come up with the final identification of what is material. The complexity and judgments get even harder as a consequence of then thinking about, well, if I'm reporting both under ESRS and the ISSB, what are those materiality thresholds? In another video, I will cover a little bit more detail on materiality assessments, but that's it for this week of our sustainability snippets. Please do join me again soon. Thanks for watching.